Whether,
I'm here with
yeah,
you.
that bless you. All right, here we go. So it looks like we're pretty live right now. Everybody say what's up. What's up, world? This
Hi.
is Brittney from Hiyah Intellect Apparel, your spiritual streetwear dealer. And today we are doing our Garden Connect Live. And I have with us today, I have Miss Brittney, or B, whoever, however you want to be, addressed, from the Brown Thumb Society. Just a little bit about, before we get started, just why are you a clothing brand? Why are you even talking about diet, gardening, just anything that seems so far-fetched from clothes? And as I was thinking about this event, I'll tell you exactly where it happened. I did a poll on my Instagram page, and I asked people, how many of you grow any of your own foods? And the responses I got were kind of like, wow, it was only 4%. And to be honest, when I saw those numbers, I wasn't like, it didn't come from a place of, oh, you guys need to know how to garden, and that's terrible. That's terrible. What it was I realized that I was very much a part of that 4%. The only difference is just like a week before I had bought a plant. But that doesn't make me any better. So what I realized is that, guys, there's a lot of us out here that might not know enough about food independence, and we don't know enough about just, just being able to like fend for ourselves enough. And so I decided to come in and do something called the Garden Connect. What you have to do is it's real simple. Join us live today, or join us with one commitment plant, just one little plant of your own, and you'll grow with us for the next 30 days. This is Penelope, y'all. Honestly, Penelope's grown quite a bit since before. Since I got her, she didn't even have all this extra stuff on the side. So I'm doing something right. But today is where we get a chance to talk to some of the experts a little bit, just to see a little bit more, get some more tips on how to help us. I'm going to ask questions because, guys, if you can tell, I got some people over here eating my food before me, and I want to, help others and help myself to not, to how to, sustain and keep our produce fresh and fresh from bugs and whatnot. Should we do decide to take this food independence thing a little bit more seriously? So let's see here. Today, also joining us, Miss Nadia Ruffin. Thank you so much. The Urban Farm Sista. It is so great to have you. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. I don't want to take up so much of the time. Let me go ahead and get everything started. Looks pretty good. You guys ready to talk about Garden Connect? I was like,
Yes.
the people that I represent, we are not in the Green Thumb. I'm probably more along with the Brown Thumb Society, where
Okay.
yes. And I just think that you guys got the knowledge, and why not share this stuff? This is the type of stuff that we need to be talking about. Yes, it's a clothing brand, but when I say we make clothes for the soul, please know that we mean that holistically. The soul is the whole everything, the whole being. And that also means not only what you wear, but what you eat. This whole idea came from the fact of consumption. And
Right.
I took what I knew, and I'm taking a little bit of what you guys know, and we're going to bring this all together, and we're going to create Hiyah Intellect. And this is exactly what this brand is about. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see here. Miss Brown Thumb Society, would you really just go ahead and let us know a little bit more about the Brown Thumb Society? In my mind, in my words, this is how I address the Brown Thumb Society. The Brown Thumb Society is for people who can't grow shit. Every time you try to grow something, kill it. And I say in my mind, that's the Brown Thumb Society. But I would love for you to go ahead and give us a little bit more of what that is. But before I do, introducing everybody, we got Brittney, creator of the Brown Thumb Society. She is an artist, visual to vocal. She's an entrepreneur and an educator. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Brittney.
Oh, thank you. That's such a lovely welcome. Oh my goodness. If I got one of those in my classroom every day, things might be different. Anyway, that's another lie for
I like it.
Yes. So I love what you are doing, and I love what you're standing for and saying, this is not just about what we put on our bodies, it's about what we put in our bodies. But even, knowing you personally, it can be daunting. Like people are like, I'm gonna leave that to the grocery store. I don't have time. I don't want to fail. I don't want to waste my money. XYZ, and I know before I've always been into plants and things like that. My grandfather has the greenest thumb and will not let like us mess with his method of things. So he really got me into gardening, him and my grandmother. And before that, in my younger years, it can be really intimidating to just find somewhere to start. And so that's how I decided, let me try something and help my friends, because everybody that comes, this is kind of like my meditation room. And everybody that's visited me or seen my home, around my home, there are plants everywhere. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, I love this, but I could never do it. I always kill my plants. And I just kept hearing that. And so from that, it was birthed the Brown Thumb Society, because I'm like, oh, you're part of the Brown Thumb Society too. It's okay. I too was once a member. So not only can I relate, and then, also being a brown person myself, I think it's important to incorporate some sort of mix in that information as well. So I launched it, and, we're baby stepping our way out. It's more so, I'm trying to get more present online, because everyone around me is aware of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I have these 3 plants that I call like practice plants, and it's a good way to jump in if you're not ready to quite do food yet. But I do also share tips just about plants in general that would be helpful, whether you're growing food or you're growing an indoor house plant or a porch plant or whatever the case may be. So
Okay.
that's basically what I'm doing, and why.
Why do you think people have such a hard time growing and nurturing things from the earth anyway? Do you have an idea of that? I mean, just based on your,
Well, I'm an educator, so I see the mouths of babies, what they hear and what they feel, what their families feel. And honestly, people have been bred for convenience. And, it's not convenient for people to wait 90 days for a tomato to grow, and not understanding that once you kind of get the process rolling, it's really simple. They're going to continue to grow, and you have this sort of never ending supply of food, at least one portion of something that you eat. But it's the starting that I know is really intimidating, because it's not an instant gratification. It's more like a weekly gratification.
Right.
I know. So I've regrown from food that I bought, and just waiting for the germination process for some little baby root to poke out.
So you're able to take fruit from the grocery store and germinate and grow from that. Am I right? That's a whole nother.
Yes,
I would love to have y'all.
That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, that was awesome. Dr.
I feel like it's
for a fact that you know very much about the whole, like, I couldn't even imagine. So if I bought basil from the store, fresh basil, how you buy it from the store, if I came home and planted that, I could just keep growing that and growing that. Am I right?
Yeah, you could also take cuttings of that plant, and you can get on the root, and you could actually take those rootings and actually start new plants as well.
A whole new plant.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And yeah, because I was saying this has grown quite a bit. It's doing its own thing. I don't mind. But yeah,
right.
I can tell some of these other little stems or whatnot are growing and doing their own little direction and sprouting their own ways. So yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Dr. Ruffin, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
People who are brand new to this, living in an apartment like myself, would you have like any like just very beginner tips for people who like aren't green thumb? I guess for the I like how we were able to merge each other's, everybody's like, expertise.
Yes.
Well, basically, like she was saying, people aren't educated enough on the whole topic. After slavery, most Black people left the plantation with the idea that they're not growing anything else. And so we have to change that mindset of, you're not growing stuff for slavery, you're growing stuff for your own survivability. And that, things are easy to grow if you're just educated on how to do it. And so, I try to I try to break stuff down to where people can understand it, because a lot of the stuff out here, it can be talking over people's heads, and they'll like, I don't understand that. I don't know what that word is. So I offer classes and I break down and I explain, like germination means the seed is going to sprout. Certain things sprout at certain temperatures. So you might not be having success because you're not sprouting it like it would naturally sprout out in the, in the nature, in the wild.
That
So
makes sense.
yeah, so things like, if you're trying to grow spinach, it sprouts at 50 degrees. It's a cool weather plant. But if you're trying to grow a tomato, it's only going to sprout in the 70-degree range or 80 or above. And so you have to know this type of information to be successful. And so a lot of times people are not, they're just going and buying seeds because they have, good intentions, but they're not understanding that, the seed pack is only going to tell you so much on the back. You have to go and research what you're trying to grow. And then you also have to make sure you're living in an environment that actual plant can grow in. I know I talk to people all the time that are new, and they start out wanting to grow like tropical things and stuff. And I'm like, but you live in Cleveland, Ohio. That's not a tropical environment. you have, and then you live in an apartment. I said, do you know that grows on a 20-foot tree? So I mean, like, yeah, you have to like,
we have to know what is available
exactly.
in our region.
Yeah, so, exactly.
For example, basil. I'm here in Texas.
Yes.
With basil, typically, is this a good environment for Ohio where you live?
Basil, that's a plant that can pretty much grow anywhere, and you can grow it in a pot, so you can always take it indoors if the temperature gets too hot or too cold.
Perfect.
But something like a blueberry bush, or like a pineapple plant, things people that want to, things they're eating on a regular basis, they're not realizing that didn't come from where they live. And correct. So you have to create that environment that it would live in. So that brings you to, like, having to set up greenhouses or having to grow indoors and incorporate grow lights and things like that. And most people, they're living in an apartment. You don't have space for that.
Yeah. So I like what you said about the basil and whatnot, because what I've been doing is I have a question. I know for people who are like me, kind of in the beginning stages, they're like, what foods do I grow? And from what we talked about, I got two things. First thing is, one, learn what grows in your area, in your region, because you've got to eat off of your land. And like what Brittney also said is, you guys are kind of saying the same thing. We get so like instant gratification, and we're like, oh, I want avocados. Well, the avocados don't even grow in Connecticut.
Right. Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Right. And so one thing is learn your region, and then two, find things that you're able to grow easily and maybe more portable. For example, this is one that I use often, and I have one here. It's pretty big, but I do have my tomato plant. This is a patio plant. If you look, it actually says patio on the word. On the thing, because it's meant for people who have lifestyles like myself. We don't have access to full backyards and mulch and all whatever you guys do. So I am still able to do this on my patio. And if you see here, I was able to
have a tomato on there.
I want to actually take one. I've been trying to save it and not take it off, prematurely, because I wanted to show you guys that I've actually grown my own stuff. Yeah. And for people like me, this is pretty amazing.
Good job.
Thank you. Now, this isn't my first one. My first one, you better know the first thing I did was ate it. I ate it. And it even tastes, my patio, this even tastes different from the grocery store.
Well, so, the ones at the grocery store, a lot of the stuff in the grocery store, they breed those particular plants to grow fast, but they don't breed them to taste good. They're just trying to get a product that you will buy at the store. And so a lot of times, and then they also they will force ripen. So they'll harvest them off the plant while they're green instead of allowing it to ripen on the plant. And then and then what they'll do is that they will take it and put it in a factory, and they'll gas it with ethylene gas, and they'll force it to ripen. But in actuality, it was not done maturing, and so that affects the taste and things as well.
I've heard about that.
So a lot of the Go ahead.
Go ahead. How we get more into like the GMOs and things like that?
No, That is just a getting a product to market, technique that they use. They don't necessarily use it on. They can use it on GMO products as well as even organic things. Um, it's just so they can get the product. They can harvest it before it's completely ripened, because when something is ripened, it's on the verge of now actually going to rotting, and so they don't want it to go to rotting, because if they have to ship it, say across the United States or from Mexico or whatever country they're bringing it from,
Mhm.
you got to have that time for shipping. And so if it's showing up at the grocery store and it's at the point of, it's about to rot, they're not going to make any money for it. So
Correct.
they have to harvest things like tomatoes and peppers when they're green, and then they force ripen them once they get them to where they're going to actually, put them out for display and sell them. And this is with the same thing with bananas and everything else. They force ripen a lot of this stuff. So when you force ripen, that takes
Okay.
away the taste.
It just makes sense. Like you altering the natural process and things, get unnatural results, if you will. I have a question. I have one question for you, Nadia, and then Brittney, I have a question for you. Nadia, I'll ask you first. Nadia, your question is, why is farming essential? I've been doing my research, and I know that, and guys, ladies and gentlemen, please forgive me. I was just going so fast. Can I give you a little bit of a rundown of what Nadia Ruffin does and who she is? Please. We were just going so fast. Guys, this is the Urban Farm Sista.
Yeah.
Scientist. Entomologist. Did I say that correctly?
Entomologist, yes.
Entomologist. And that means you study insects. Come
Yes.
on, I've been doing my research, y'all.
Yes.
Okay, so you study insects, and you type of scientist. That's why I probably keep calling you doctor, because I don't know anybody who does anything that you do. You guys are responsible for identifying over 800,000 insect species that we find on this planet. So
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
For sure. And you are a gardener, an educator. You are the founder of Agri Academy and Kiwi Produce.
Yes.
When I tell you how it took me like 30 seconds to pronounce kiwi, I saw what you did there. I saw what you did. You didn't spell it right.
Yes.
Kind of
Yes.
like intellect, my bad. But just a little bit of that, guys. Just want to let you guys know who you had right here in front of you. We got some heavy hitters, guys. We got all kinds of individuals. Okay.
Yeah.
But Nadia, my question is, why should we even worry about food supply? And Brittney, after we're done, your question is, what are the benefits of having living plants in the home at all? Like, why would somebody what's the benefit of even having them around? All right. So, let's see. Since we were talking about the food portion, let's just let Ms. Nadia continue on that, and then we'll segue back into the other plants.
Yes.
Right. So why should we even worry about food supply in the first place? My whole life, I've been able to go to Kroger all my life until maybe like a couple months ago when Corona hit and I couldn't even get water. But just let's talk about, why should we even care about food supply?
Well, that's what keeps us alive. And if we don't have food available, that's gonna eventually impact our health and well-being. COVID-19 exposed a lot of stuff as far as our food system. And, in the Black community, we don't even have our own farming system. We have Black farmers out there, I'm one of them, but we're not even like connected. And so when something like this happens, Tyson, Dole, all these big corporations that supply a lot of our, fruits, vegetables, meat, dairy, whatever you decide to eat, they shut down operations. They just started throwing food out. And, and then, the prices of food has skyrocketed now. I don't know if you guys have gone to the store, and I keep trying to tell people are only seeing, they're talking about the meat. I said, this is happening with the fruits and vegetables as well as, dairy, everything is affected.
I do plant-based only, and I can attest to that.
Yes. And so I said, had we had our own network, our system set up with our own Black farmers, we could have been prepared. We can go directly to the farmer now. It used to be that you had to go through the middleman, the grocery store, that they actually work with a factory that actually worked with the farmer. Well, now that these big corporations are shutting down and they're getting rid of jobs and they're closing factories, and a lot of the stuff we imported, and then we have that whole issue going on of the tariff wars with Mexico as well as China. A lot of those our products, especially our fruits and vegetables, a lot of them come from Mexico.
They do.
And so, right now the border is closed with Mexico because of COVID-19. They still haven't lifted that. And there's still things being brought in. And, California, they grow a lot of our produce as well. But that's a desert environment that is always in a drought. And so, this is going to have an impact if we can't get things from Mexico and we can't get things from China, and Canada's closed their borders for certain things. And, we're going to have to create our own system within this land that we're in. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to.
It makes me think, when the more you speak, it makes me think, where does that leave us? Where does that leave
Right.
me? Where does that leave the average person who
Right.
we're dependent on them so strong?
Right.
It's kind of like, where does that leave us if you keep doing that? And I agree. If you haven't really paid attention to food supply and just being, having food independence and just being self-sufficient in all areas,
Right.
COVID-19 should have been the first. If there wasn't a big one, it should have been the first little eye-opening for you to know that you got to be more dependent upon yourself, and we can't really rely on anyone else to really just do stuff for us. And like you said, there's no reason why we can't be out here being self-sufficient in that way.
Right.
We have all the tools that we need to succeed. There's no need that
Right.
we sitting here with less than or about what's this, what's that.
Right.
So, and I like it. The more you speak, again, it makes that whole community thing. And if it's going to work, man, gotta be
right.
over here surviving off of basil and tomatoes. I need somebody with with some greens and some potato, other stuff.
Exactly.
Like that. So
exactly.
I the more you speak,
then it also brings revenue and jobs and opportunities to a community. And plants are vital. And this will probably lead into what she's going to talk about, plants being in the household. Like, this is where we get our oxygen and stuff from. And if we don't have plants, we don't have, if we're messing up the environment by spraying like all these pesticides and stuff and out there, we're not only affecting ourselves, we're affecting the whole ecosystem. And so if you affect the whole ecosystem, you eliminate one thing, it's a cascading effect. It's going to affect everything. And so, that's what I try to do, is I try to educate on the fact that, people, I have so many issues every year when people go out and they're excited about, gardening or farming. And the first thing they want to do is they want to kill everything that's out there, like all the insects, because either they're scared of them or, they may be feeding on their plants and stuff. And I'm like, you can't just go. That can't be your response to everything. That's how we got to the point we're at now.
Right.
They kill us. They kill us because they're scared of us. And instead of being educated. And so it's like, we can't take that stance on everything. All these insects or all these arthropods or whatever's feeding on your plant, they're just doing what they do naturally, just like you do naturally. And you just have to figure out how we can coexist and how to, maybe control or prevent. And then we can all get along and we don't have to poison our environment.
I want to show you guys really quick before we segue into Brittney, because what you brought was perfect. Plants. Y'all, I'm going to tell you now, did y'all see my little leaf here? If I look good enough, I'm going to find the culprit. I'm going to probably give him a name. Because
it's a caterpillar and it's green.
Well, no. I think this one is a snail.
Oh yeah, those are in there too.
Bro,
yeah.
You want to say they've been munching? I mean, tearing up my baby, just tearing them. Look at that. Just tearing that up, and that was nothing compared to this. This is my tomato. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing so hard? Now listen, this is my doggone tomato plant. Now, here's the deal. It was fine when I first got it, guys. It wasn't until like a week or two later where the ants decided, they were like, oh, snap, somebody on the fourth floor got some tomatoes, y'all. Let's go eat up the plants. And so I see them, and you're right. Immediately, I want to, I'm like, y'all, this ain't for y'all. Y'all got to go. But I don't want to kill them, so I'll leave them there. And so what I've been doing is doing some research on how to get rid of bugs. And shout out to my colleague, I think it's B. Lauren Designs. She gave me a tip because she saw my Instagram story. She said, get some cinnamon and water and spray it on the leaves. And I was like, what the heck? They eat it all up anyway. So I didn't have a spray bottle. So I just put some cinnamon in a jug, shook it up, and put it on there.
Yeah.
And I thought it wasn't immediate. I know.
It's not gonna be immediate.
I'm telling you guys, that's why I represent the brown thumbs. I'm so glad you put this on. I don't know how to do it.
So the ants are probably not eating a plant. It's probably aphids on there. Ants don't normally eat plants. They're predators and scavengers, but they're probably aphids on the leaves that they're farming. So they're
what again?
Aphids.
Oh.
Aphids. APHIDS.
Those I've heard of that. I've heard of that before.
So ants actually farm them like cattle because they produce honeydew that the ants drink from them, and so they protect them. And they'll take them to plants and allow them to feed. They're actually sap suckers. But aphids, they can be different colors and things. They're probably on the underside or up on the stem of the plant. And the ants will take care of them. They'll protect them, and they'll take them to other plants and things like that.
Man.
So it's probably not the ants that are eating it. And then the aphids are not eating the leaves either. They're sucking the sap. That's probably either a caterpillar or, another snail got over there and ate off of there.
Well, somebody's feasting better than me, but I didn't want to kill them. I didn't kill them. I did do the cinnamon and water.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, I didn't see much of a change, but when I went back like 2 days later, I noticed it was a little less and a little less. So maybe I don't know what I did, but I know I tried to do something a little not invasive and not like harsh.
Right.
So thank you for bringing up the fact that and think about this too for people who are out there like me. You're not thinking about this probably all the time. But that pesticide, you're going to put that right back in your body.
Yep.
You're spraying the same stuff back into you. So, and to be honest, I don't know. Should I just grow a little plant just for them? They ain't going to have no boundaries. They're not gonna...
to the tomato, you're not eating the leaves anyway. So, I mean, if they eat a few of the leaves, that's fine. But when it comes to like your basil and stuff that you're going to use the leaves, you might want to intervene. And we can talk about that later. Afterwards to just like what can be done, because first you have to figure out what's there. That's one thing people never do. They never figure out what's there. They just go and get something that they think is going to kill everything. And at the end, a lot of times some of the stuff is not effective at all. And what happens is you kill the wrong things. So you kill things that'll help you protect your plants. And then the pests, what they could deem pests. I don't like calling them pests because they're just doing what they normally do. But those pests will, come in and they'll just outnumber everything because there's no predator there to feed on them. So you have to know what you're using, and you have to know when to use it during the day. And it's like a lot of stuff. Like I say, people need to research before they just go and, just throw stuff on there. Like over the last 3 weeks, I've seen people just wipe out all their plants because they're putting the wrong thing. They've been spraying vinegar. They've been spraying too much neem oil. They've been spraying salt water, all types of things on their plants.
Peroxide, bleach.
Yes.
Peroxide and bleach.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I like that. Okay, so let's see. Okay, Brittney, thank you for being patient. Here's my question. Okay, let's say I don't want to grow food. Fine. Who cares? But you say I need plants in the house. Why?
Well, plants like she was saying are giving off oxygen, number one. So that's definitely important. The plants that I like to keep in my home, in my meditation room for sure, are mostly air cleaning plants. A lot of people don't know that those things that you're cleaning your home with, I mean, I'm sure they know, they're not good for you to be ingesting. And many of the plants that I use, especially for my Brown Thumb Society, my beginners, are air cleaning plants, snake plants, spider plants. These can clean 80% of the toxins in your home that you're putting in there to clean out your home. So even some of the things that are in your common household cleaners are going to be taken in by your plants so that they can release oxygen. So they're kind of filtering or helping filter the air. There's also studies that show plants reduce stress. And I'm assuming it's the connection to the oxygen that you're breathing in, because you're able to breathe easier, fresh air. You're not, worried or getting any of the sick from the things that you're breathing in. So that's important as well. The aesthetic part is nice. I get a lot of compliments on, oh, it looks like a jungle and yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, these plants are helping me. So, yes.
I like it. When you say that, the first thing that comes to my mind is we're in a house quarantined all day anyway. So, so many people are not getting fresh air. You just know that they aren't. I think this brown thumb society thing that you got going can be very, very like uplifting in an indirect way, or in a way that people don't even really give credit to. Just having life around you, period, is just something that we humans really value, whether we like acknowledge it at all times or not. So I really like that. I do like that aspect. Um, it says, I have a question here. It says, do real plants bring pests into the room? Like your air plants, will that bring in pests? And Nadia, chime in as well.
Okay.
So it depends. Well, I know in my experience, you can get, if you overwater your plants, you can get gnats and things like that that'll come from the water. Sometimes, depending on where you purchase your plants from, they can already have some sort of an insect. Aphids are generally the most common ones that I've seen from plants, and those can spread. But it's really like Nadia said, just researching what you decide to bring home first and knowing how to care for it. Because if you do overwater it, you're going to create root rot because the plant's not going to be taking in the water as quickly as you're watering it, which can bring gnats, because gnats like standing water, which can also bring, little common flies that you would see outside. Is just that they're coming in because you're creating an environment that they can be successful
like
in.
Mosquitoes, perhaps. I kind of think mosquitoes. Yeah, I could see mosquitoes too, especially like on a patio plant where that water just sits there and accumulates.
Oh yeah, that. Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, and not even just on.
But just maintaining your plant. Maintaining your plant and taking care of it can definitely like eradicate that problem altogether. I know when I initially, most people say getting your first plant is kind of like getting a tattoo. You just like, oh, I need another one, I need another one, and I need another one. So I initially had an issue with that, and I just wanted to water them, especially with being on quarantine. Like you might need to set a reminder to not water your plants because it's literally exactly. It's just listening to your plants, because they'll tell you, like, if you overwater it, your leaves will turn yellow. That means you're doing too much. Leave it alone. If you're underwatering it, your leaves will turn brown.
Okay,
they'll dry out.
Really good. Overwatering turns the green to yellow, and underwatering turns it to what we all know like dead leaves on the ground, which is brown. So too much water is yellow, not enough water is brown. Hope y'all heard that. That was a good tip. And so it sounds like
that's generally, like a general rule of thumb.
Yes. So it sounds like a healthy plant is a happy plant.
So yes, to add more to the insect thing, usually I always tell people when they bring plants home, no matter if they bring them home from a nursery, a greenhouse, if they bring them in even from outside, like the plants you have sitting outside now, you want to quarantine, and you probably want to treat those plants even 2 weeks before you bring them in. The reason is that greenhouses, nurseries, even if you buy something from like Walmart or something, those plants usually do have insects on them, depending on what it is. It could be white flies, it could be fungus gnats. This is what she was talking about with the water. It could be aphids, scales, spider mites are really bad. A lot of different things, and sometimes you can even bring in beneficial insects. I've seen lady beetles brought in, spiders, all types of things. You have to think of, this is a plant, so if an animal or an insect is in that environment where they are, they're just going to utilize it like they would if it was outside in the ground. But knowing that you're going to bring that into your home, so I always say, do not bring a new plant in with your old plants that you have, because you just want to assume, it's kind of like with COVID-19, you want to assume everybody has it, and so you want to assume that, and so you want to quarantine it for at least 2 weeks, and treat it. And there's organic things you can treat it with, to make sure that you're covering all bases. So if it's caterpillars, you want to remove them, then you want to treat it with bacteria. This bacteria called BT. If it's mosquitoes, because somebody asked, is there a solution for mosquitoes? Yes, and for fungus gnats. So if you're having a problem with fungus gnats in your plants that you've overwatered, and you have root rot going on, you can sprinkle what are called mosquito dunks, or they call them the little bits. What it is a bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis israelis, and what that bacteria does, it prevents those mosquito and fungus gnat larvae from maturing into adults. The fungus gnat.
Did you say that one more time? I'm a science I need to write that down for future reference because I haven't heard of that one.
Okay, it's have you ever seen the mosquito dunks that they use to prevent mosquitoes
Yeah.
from?
I've seen it. I just didn't know what the official name was.
So it's a bacteria in there called Bacillus thuringiensis israelinalis.
I told y'all we had a
Okay,
scientist
I
on here
sounded
today.
that out on
I
paper.
told y'all we had a scientist because she just did like 7 words and I had no idea. She should have saw my face. I was like, the more you said, I was like, what? But you know this, and we bless you
Yes.
for sharing this with us.
So the BT has many different species of BT, and it's used a lot in agriculture to control a whole bunch of different insects. The other one is Bacillus thuringiensis kerstaki, and that's a BT bacteria that targets
All right.
caterpillars. And so when you're having caterpillar problems on your plants, I always suggest people get BT and spray it on there. And you have to spray it like every 10 to 14 days and a lot sooner if it rains because it'll wash it off. But what it does, it prevents the bacteria, gives the caterpillars like a bacterial infection and eventually kills them. And so they won't mature into adults and they won't keep that cycle going. But I always tell people that, there's biological methods out here that you can control these insects, but never just bring a plant into your home or even to your garden or on your farm until you've actually quarantined it and actually treated it, because you can bring problems into there that you didn't have before.
Okay.
So even like when you bring your basil in, you want to check it, because I don't know if you have plants indoors already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to check
All
that
of mine are indoors.
before you take that in for the winter or however you're going to do it. Or if you're taking it in and out, to use the basil, you want to make sure you're checking the plant for insects so
You're right.
that you're not bringing them into the home.
There was somebody on here this morning, right before we started. I'm gonna say it was a he. He was on here, and I was like, "Bro, I know it's been you eating my stuff." And I was gonna show him. I was gonna put him on camera. He must have got embarrassed and he left because I can't find him no more. But I saw him on there.
Right.
Yes, I have a couple of questions from comments here. And 2 of them that comes in, it says, "What kinds are the best plants for your home?" Both of you can answer, but Brown Thumb, sorry, Brittney, I would like you to tell us about your Holy Trinity again, and maybe you can name your Holy Trinity plant so that people can get a better idea of what they are, and then so they can come to you to see how to get those.
Sure. Yes. So, like I said, and like we've talked about, the Brown Thumb Society is for people that you don't have, I don't want to say you don't have faith in yourself, but you need some training wheels before you just jump right in to being a plant mommy or daddy. And so I picked out 3 plants that I feel like I learned the most with, and then also it was kind of like a mutual relationship. So as far as what I was getting from the plants and what they were giving to me. So the 3 plants, the only 3 plants. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I like that. I like that. I like that. What you get to you. I like that.
Yes. This is, before I got into vegetables and, regrowing food and things like that, I wanted to at least try to keep the plant alive. Let's start small. So my holy Trinity that I like to use as practice plants are the snake plant or the Sansevieria. I'm not really good with science names. I know them, but
right.
I'm gonna type it out for you. So the snake plant, I said the snake plant, the spider plant, and the jade plant. So those are kind of the immortal plants, so to speak. It's generally pretty hard to kill them, right? But I think that it helps using those plants because they help you to get in a routine. Plant care to me is all about routine. You want to water them the same amount, and make sure that you're listening to them and not like, oh, I haven't watered in a day, let me just water it. No, you have to have a kind of like a schedule. So I call that the Holy Trinity because I can focus on those 3 plants. And even if you want to try all 3 at once, they're pretty similar in what they require, which is very little. You just want to make sure that you're giving them the right amount of light. You want to make sure that you're not overwatering, and then that you're using the proper soil. So when you do water, the plant is able to use the soil effectively and to take in the water that it needs and not overdo it. So I think starting with those is important. and that's why I'm sticking with those. I think some
Well,
people kind of jump in, get a little too aggressive, and then you just have a room full of dead plants, which is
and then you feel bad
not good. So
when they're alive.
I,
You're like, oh, look at all my plants, but as soon as they die, your vibe is like.
But it's okay because I too
I'm
am a
trying to
reformed plant killer.
from the brown thumb to the green thumb. So I love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So here we go. If for people who want to know a little bit more about the Brown Thumb Society and the snake plant, spider plant, and jade plant that you suggested, they should go to. How should they find you?
At Brown Thumb Society. I'm only on Instagram right now because everything that I've communicated with people has been word of mouth and through exchanges. But since COVID, exchanges are virtual right now, so I'm definitely available to chat that way, and you can send me questions, comments. I'm doing a pop-up pretty soon. I'm just trying to make sure that it is socially distanced and appropriate. So
okay. So in your just a little bit about it in your pop-up for like people who are local. You were in Texas? Houston.
I'm in Houston. Yes. So I'm gonna actually do. I'm rache, as I like to call it, just a little bit of rache. So I'm gonna have a pull up instead of a pop up.
Oh, that'll be a pop up.
And you just pull up. It's a pull up. You know what I'm saying? You pull up, and my pop trunk. If you're from Houston, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm the plant dealer. That sounds
and you
bad, but.
So in your pop-up, you'll have the plants
Yes.
already ready. For example, hypothetically, I'm gonna get one of those from you for sure. So when I get a plant, how would I know like specifically how not to kill it?
Well, I don't do the nursery pot because I think the problem that a lot of people have is I'm gonna buy a plant, but then I have to buy a pot, and then I have to buy the soil, and then I have to get maybe perlite, peat moss, all of these things that go into making a soil.
True.
So everything is already done for you. I will tell you when I watered it last. And then I also have a little care sheet that's virtual. So anytime you purchase anything from me, or even if you just have a question and you've already made a purchase, you can refer back to my care sheet for those 3 plants that is updated as I get fun facts and information about those plants just to share. I like to get the science. I'm the nerd, so I like to get the science behind like how much they take in, what types of chemicals they take in from your home, and just what other ways that you could benefit from them. So you don't just get a plant and then I send you on about your way. You get a plant, you get a little care sheet that's virtual, and you can learn how not to kill it. And that's a little bit easier.
You just said what I noticed. You said they get a care sheet and it's updated. So I'm assuming the care sheet, like you said, is digital or virtual. That means as information is added and whatnot, I can keep coming back to this. Is it like a QR code or like a?
It's a little website. It's kind of like, hey, thanks for supporting me. So here's this for you. It's a Bitly.
It's a live. Okay, it's a link that I can always refer back to help myself. With my plants. Perfect. Hey, I love that. Thank you so much. I think that's pretty good. So for the people who were asking, guys, reach out to Brittney, Brown Thumb Society. She gave you three nice major basic plants to start with, ones that you should not be able to kill. If you kill these plants, then you especially.
And you don't have to have all 3 to start. Let me say that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you don't have to jump in feet first, okay? You can put your baby toe or your thumb in.
So I can graduate to the Holy Trinity if I will. I like
basically,
it.
Yes.
In my mind,
from Terminator to Germinator. That's what I like to say.
Terminator to Germinator. So I get to graduate from my brown thumb to a green thumb. Is that correct?
Yes.
Also that. Yes, ma'am.
I love it. And Nadia, I would like you to just be able to tell people a little bit more about just some of the things that you do outside of this, their first time seeing you here on my page. I know you have some of your people here. But tell people a little bit about you.
Well, I'm located in Cincinnati, Ohio. Like you said earlier, I'm a scientist. I'm an entomologist. So I have a lab called Agri-Academy Labs. I have Agri-Academy Inc., which is a nonprofit organization where I teach youth and adults, mostly Black, but any socially disadvantaged group, about the agriculture industry beyond just farming. People think when you say agriculture that you're just talking about farming. But in reality, there's like a plethora of opportunities that fall under that branch that people, especially those like you and I, don't even know about. I mean,
Mhm.
like things like entomology, microbiology, all types of things that people could, either pursue a career in, or maybe even open their own labs, businesses, be a doctor, lawyer, veterinarian, all types of things fall under agriculture. And it's just that
Wow.
we've been, um kind of like deprived of that. We don't even know about it. Like we don't have people coming to the youth school and you teaching them about the poultry industry, or how peanut butter got there, or things like that. Like they don't have that. And so as a result of that, they don't even know that there's jobs and opportunities and scholarships and grants and all types of stuff out there that they could apply and actually work towards these things. um so yeah, here in Cincinnati, I have an urban farm. I bought an empty lot and I turned it into a farm. So I grow produce there and I
Nice.
sell the produce.
Love it.
Then I also I have chickens on there, so I teach people how to raise their own animals if they want to. Because when I went to school, I actually graduated from
Oh,
Ohio State, and I have a bachelor's in animal sciences. So I learned about all the animals that we use for either food, um, material, all types of things. And then I also have a master's in entomology, to where I did the whole study of the insects and stuff. So I also have bees there. I teach people how to keep bees.
ooh.
Um,
You do field trips? Because I'm trying to take a trip from
Right? I'll take my class.
we could,
so
like 2 or 3 days hanging out with you would probably be like so big for me. I would love it.
yes, and so then recently this year also, I'm working with an organization, and we actually are going to be farming 10 acres of land. So starting this month. So yeah, so I'll have that going on as well. Growing hemp also, and that's a whole
Ooh,
nother thing that
that's
I'll
a
be
good one.
entering into.
I
Yeah.
feel like that word to
Yeah.
it's like we're trained by like just stuff that we hear frequencies, like to hear trigger words. And I think right now hemp, CBD, stuff like
Yeah.
that, those are trigger words that are really get people's like, oh yeah, oh hemp, oh CBD, yeah. And
But see, yeah, but I don't want people to get like they only see this plant as as a drugs per se. I want
no,
them to I want them to see it as this plant can be used for 1,000 different things. From
build houses, clothes, it can do
it can
anything.
replace plastic. It can replace cutting down trees so we can have our forest. I mean, it can do a lot. Make paper products like the toilet paper shortage we had. We can make hemp out of. I mean, there's so many different things that we can do. That so I want people to so I try to educate people on how to do value added products with whatever they're growing, and also using small scale farming as a way to bring money into a
Okay,
area.
yeah,
So that's what I do, and that's as far as the farming aspect. And then I do a lot of research, especially with entomology, because like I say, people just don't understand insects and their relatives, and their first instance is they want to kill everything. And so I try to educate on why those things are there and how you can either prevent them from being there, or how they're being there is not really affecting what your
right,
final product is. Like your tomato plant, they're eating the leaves. As
but not
long as it doesn't eat all the leaves, the plant's okay, because
Right.
you're going to harvest a
It can still
tomato. You're not
produce.
really harvesting the leaves. Now if it's something that's wiping out all the leaves and the plant can't carry out photosynthesis, then yes, you're going to have to intervene.
okay.
um but yeah, it's just educating people on that, and then also educating them on eating locally, like what grows in your environment, like where you are right now. Like I know we become accustomed to being able to get avocados and pineapples and papayas and all that other stuff, but right now that stuff may be limited, and so you're going to have to open up your taste and your mind to, well, I can only eat what's going to grow here, and then you have to know what grows there. Um so I would suggest, like, people like yourself, um grow things that will grow in one season. So things like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants,
Mm-hmm.
um,
The squash grow in one season.
yes, squash,
You need
zucchini squash, yellow squash,
I
all the
didn't
squash
know.
plants. But we got to know which ones to get. And so if you're living in an apartment, there are dwarf varieties, or they call them, like yours, it said
Mm-hmm.
patio friendly. You
Mm-hmm.
have to make sure you're getting those, because you can get a squash, like if you're trying to grow a spaghetti squash, they don't have a dwarf variety for that. And that vine can get about 15 feet long.
I was like, you need ground for that. You need
Yeah,
ground.
so you need actual land, and so it can spread out. Same thing. There's some watermelon plants that, you know, they're called ice box, where their vines stay kind of small, but you don't want to try to grow a rattlesnake or all these other type of watermelons where their vines get extremely long and they get extremely big, and you don't have anywhere to accommodate this plant's growth. So you're gonna have to look at that, and also the USDA has a website where you can go there and you can figure out what zone you live in, and based off that zone, you can decide what plants you want to put outside, because it'll tell you, like, you know, this is your last frost and this is your first frost for the year. So it'll tell you like your last frost, like here in Ohio, our last frost technically is supposed to be in April, but it's usually at this point in May now. Everything's been shifted like forward a little bit. But it gives you an idea, and so you can use that information when you're going on websites. You can say, I live in zone 6A or I live in zone 7B. And based off that website, you can put that information in, and it'll tell you what plants will grow in your area.
There's a whole world out here that seems like there's a whole world that's just like all around us that we don't even notice or look at.
Yes.
And I like the fact that we're becoming more aware of what's important these days. And to be honest, last time I checked, we talk about consumption a lot. Food is number one. And that's why I go past these clothes and I go for the soul, because you look good. I don't need you to look good. I need you to be good from the inside out. So, you know, ladies, we're coming up on our last maybe like 5 minutes or so. Before we go, I just wanted to first and foremost thank you so much for this. Nadia, you already know how this came about. You and Brittney, and it's been a blessing to have you. Nadia, high key, I'm trying to work with you and like set a whole collaboration right here online for the whole world to see. Y'all, this about to be my friend. Y'all don't even know it. You need to be connecting yourself with higher people. You know what I mean? She knows that I do not know. I need to connect with that. And the more we get to contact, I'm sure there'll be things that you can value from, you know, from this side as well. So just really, really blessed for the connection. So much good information. Let's look over here. I'm looking at the comments to make sure everybody has their questions answered. Nadia's gotten comments on her hair looking fabulous, and it does. It looks very good.
Thank you.
Background, I can't help but look at your background, and then I look at mine, and I'm just like, no, I do know why we are here. And just before we go, guys, the importance of what you put in your body it supersedes everything, man. Like from what consumption goes way past food. But I know for a lot of times people think consumption, think of food. You know what I mean? So but it's your clothes, it's what you listen to, what you eat, who you hang around, where you go. Everything is consumption. And I think we're at a time now where we're reaching for our higher selves. And the best way for me personally to to try to make any changes is from the inside out. And speaking of inside out, what you put inside of you will actually affect, what comes out. So, ladies, I thank y'all so much. I hope y'all have welcome. Thank you for your time. And so try out. Y'all be blessed.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.